In Phantom Knightmare, we're going to be getting a new generic Link 3 that's going to be a huge boost for fire decks called Promethean Princess, Bestower of Flames. I'm personally not a huge fan of the design of this card, and I think it's a card that will become problematic once released, and is a good example of what I would consider to be bad card design in Yu-Gi-Oh! So in this video, I'm going to be explaining why I don't like this card and compare it to other generic links in the game to help support my viewpoint. For starters, what does Promethean Princess do? Well, it's a generic Link 3 needing 2+ effect monsters to make, and while on the field, it locks you into only special summoning fire monsters, which is a pretty serious restriction since it does prevent you from using it to link climb into something like Access Code or Appaloosa. That's important because its first effect lets you, during the main phase, special summon one fire monster from your graveyard without targeting, which is pretty strong, especially when combined with its insane second effect, which is that if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while it's in the graveyard, you can target one fire monster you control and one monster your opponent controls, destroy them, and if you do, special summon this card. This card's not only an extender for fire decks, but also acts as an interruption from the graveyard that recurs itself, which is an extremely hard thing to deal with in today's game. On top of that, if this card survives the turn, it's able to revive any fire monster from the graveyard at the start of your next turn, making it excellent follow-up if not dealt with. And at 2700 attack, it's not easy to beat over either. We've been getting a lot of generic links as of recently. The biggest one that's on people's minds is SP Little Knight, and if you watch my video on that card, you'd know that I'm a huge fan of it. But not all generic links are created equal. This card does not fill the same role as Little Knight, and I would argue is quite toxic for the game. A card like Little Knight is technically more generic than Promethean Princess, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Little Knight's a great toolbox card that any deck can take advantage of, that can really help when trying to break boards. Its power is much higher when going second than going first, which helps bridge the gap of the advantage of being able to go first. This is the main reason why I'm such a big fan of Little Knight and why I think the game needs more cards like it. Promethean Princess is more of a combo piece, which is very concerning in a generic link monster. A lot of the strongest links in the game occupy this role, and it's for a reason. Think of cards like Sprite Elf, Hulk, or Verte Anaconda that are all used to help increase the power of turn 1 boards, and Promethean Princess is no different. Generic links that can be used to further combos are not healthy for the game. They give players easy ways to pivot, to play around and through hand traps, which makes them very hard to deal with, and can make it feel like there's no counterplay. And in some ways, Promethean Princess is even harder to deal with than some of the other cards I mentioned. A card like Verte, for example, could be summoned after you were hand trapped 2 or 3 times using your negated monsters to end on a DPE. Promethean Princess can be made the exact same way with just one more material, but also is able to revive a monster and doesn't lock you out of special summoning for the rest of the turn. And the second Promethean Princess hits the board, it's already over. Even a card like Nib is just going to put it in the graveyard, so if your opponent's able to get a fire monster on board after Nib resolves with, a card like Rescue, the Promethean Princess effect to pop a monster is still live. Cards like Hulk and Elf can be dealt with by an Imperm either in the draw phase to stop them from being too problematic on your turn, or to stop their ability to extend on the opponent's turn. Those cards are also susceptible to cards like Dark Ruler, which can't be responded to. Promethean Princess doesn't have these issues since its interruption comes from the graveyard. Sure, there are ways to stop it like DD Crow, Ghost Bell, or Gravekeeper's Inscription, but cards like that are way less generic than the ones I mentioned before. And they aren't exactly that great into the rest of the Rescue Ace engine either. So by playing those cards, you might be able to deal with the Princess, but then you'll just have a harder time playing through the set 4 from Turbulence. A card like Dark Hole could work to remove the fires from the field, but in the OCG, players are ending on the amphibious swarm ship Amble Whale, which floats into another link when destroyed. The second this card comes out in February, it's going to be a problem. Fire decks are going to feel very toxic thanks to this single card, and there are plenty getting support to choose from. There's already Rescue Ace like I've mentioned, but there's also Salmon Great, which can use this to link climb into Raging Phoenix and then trigger the second one's effect from the grave, and the new Fire King support's going to love abusing this card. Promethean Princess is definitely going to have a big meta impact as soon as it comes out, and unfortunately it's not one that I'm particularly looking forward to. But who knows, maybe it's not going to be as bad as I think. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think cards like Promethean Princess are bad for the game like I do? Or do you disagree and like how this card's designed? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to see more videos from me, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.